I was thinking hours ago about this. I figured I better put it on camera. What we learn as children is relative to what we know of what we know today. Point being is the thought that as we grow up, we are taught by two people, or maybe one, or more, right? Who give us our own identity. But the identity is scarcely kind of almost entangled together with these people, or our family, or whoever is around us. So what we know of today as adults is what we have learned as kids. Now, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. Sometimes it's actually good. Some things that we do learn keep us from getting our behinds killed or other things. Sometimes relative to that, it doesn't work out that way. For case in point, 1941 or something, when Pearl Harbor got bombed. Or let's just say World War II altogether, right? We had one guy who became a leader of a country, right? 80 or 90 years ago, but still, it's relative to what I'm trying to say. So 80 or 90 years ago, World War II had happened. That was a relatively long time ago, but it had its points. So we had Adolf Hitler, who, by the way, is probably one of the most hated men on earth to this day, right? But at one time, he was a kid. From what I learned in history is that he grew up with a very strict and possibly abusive father. So you can imagine he probably didn't feel as great as he should have in his childhood. That led to maybe him being an outcast. He was a pretty good artist. Had he stuck with that, I don't think we'd even be here talking about it today. But whole other story, whole other detail. My point is, his view got scrambled. It was just basically, I hate everyone who ain't me. So you gotta be just like me. So, before World War II had happened, things were going bad. You had massive economy problems. Nobody could work. And those who did have money were rich. They really had to worry about too much. So he did one thing. He started blaming those who had nothing to do with the fact that they were out of jobs and no money. But what do? You create a fear. A basis of someone that you could hate. I mean, it goes on even to this day. You have people who may be related to those who are in the white supremacy groups or other groups entirely from a different point of view, right? All perceptions come from a place of either fear or maybe a little nostalgia, I guess. I don't know. All I know is these things happen, or these things get it's like cement. Cement is wet when it's before it forms to become a hard surface, right? So in this manner, what happens is, let's say a kid is like cement. It's wet at first, so you can form it into any shape you want to form it in, as long as you have the necessary foundation to do so with, right? Sand, water, lime, and any other thing that you can think of that go into it, right? At one time it was straw in concrete. One of the most strongest, but it was strong enough. Anyway, this goes to what I'm trying to say. The building blocks of both what is perception for us as adults from what is being built into us as kids. Our perception becomes the belief in the reality that we all have. These things are intermingled. No way out of it. Well, I would say there was no way out of it. At least that's what we are taught. There's no way out of it. I'm beginning to understand the state of what needs to happen is this. Once we become adults, we have our own mind, our own situations, and our own fate to deal with. Well, however you want to put it, serendipity, coincidences, or whatever, right? If you believe that you're not lovable, then that's where you will be for the rest of your life, and you'll be lonely and an old person screaming out the window, keep off my line. Also, there's the fact that once we begin our adulthood, we end up having to what happens is, and I think most of us have already gone through this, is that we begin to discover ourselves, begin to discover our real self, our what Oprah or many other people in her circle say, authentic self. Problem with that is our authentic self is always covered up. It's marred in all the scars that we have been given over the years, to where we become jaded and really don't realize how much things really hurt us. And then we're told, at least in America, we're told that we're supposed to just stuff it down and deal with it as best as we can. And oh yeah, don't go to a doctor because that means you're crazy. What it really means is, if you don't go to a doctor, you're gonna be crazy anyway, right? There was another thing that was said to me years ago, both about men and women. First for women, it was said that women only know exactly what they know because that's what they expect, right? And then men, same thing, vice versa, right? That's why I think we're given parents. They teach us how to relate. If we don't relate, then we can't deal with the outside world any more than we can deal with our own selves. And if we have those insufficiencies in us, then that becomes the obvious trigger to, well, a messed up life, or at least a partly messed up life, until we actually grow up enough emotionally to handle it. I think that's just one fact out of many. Like, I can go on from religious to other things. I want to keep this short. But what I'm trying to say is, our perceptions are not our perceptions are not dialed in after childhood. We have to separate our perceptions, separate what we learned from what we learned and know now to what we will eventually learn and know. Belief versus idea. Ideas can be bent and they can be shared. A belief can be shared but not bent. Those two core aspects of both human reality is what I think is probably a main problem of why we're having such a hard time dealing with each other on a day-to-day basis, because we separate ourselves from things that we know need to be fixed. We give other people the task to fix it for us, and then when we look and see that the task cannot be fixed, then the task just stays broken. I believe that's why the procession that we have are not working at this point, because everybody's procession is starting to break down. Everybody's belief from childhood on up to their adulthood is now breaking down. Nobody is willing to face the fact that some of the things that we think we know are wrong, or at least half wrong. I'm trying to give a balanced picture of this, and I'm hoping I'm doing a good job at this. This is my second time doing it. I'm finding I need to say some things because I don't get to talk much now that I can, or at least to a mass of people, and hopefully some people will look my video up. I can, I wouldn't say clear it up, at least give my point of view. We have to remember that our procession, at least what we have learned from childhood, is not the end. It is not it is not supposed to be puritanic, such as like what the Puritans did to people way back then, more than 400 years ago, or what happened in Salem. You know, all these things add up. The historical picture isn't being looked at. All that's being done is people skimming over what history has brought us, and then when it comes to the present, we say, oh, that can't happen to us. We're more evolved than they were back then. Quite frankly, we're still in the same bodies. We still have the same thoughts. And we haven't let go of preconception of what is, or what should be. Or what is the fact that what we are dealing with now. Or what should be is what we should be trying to go forward into. But it isn't, I should say, it hasn't yet broken the lines. You know, like I said in the first one, people don't like change. So, you know, those who figure that change is bad will eventually put down those people trying to make the change. And I'm not talking about the whole election that's coming up. A lot of this has to do with the fact that over the years that I have, I've been around on the earth, I've seen nothing but, you know, the same old story, the same old lines to everything. You know, us against them, or them against us. We need to get out of that before we destroy ourselves in the process. Really, you want to know, destruction is maybe half of our nature. Well, I wouldn't say half, maybe like an eighth, right? And just if you put a bunch of people, over 6 million people who are on Earth today, right, and then say, well, we'll try our best to get it in, to get it right. That's not working anymore. Also, funny thing, I was watching this show, and the guy said the most difficult part, and this is funny to me, and it was, the most difficult part of getting peace to get started, or peace talks to get started, is the fact that war is always looming over the horizon. It's basically what we call a Hail Mary, a Hail Mary pass, right? We get 2-3 people into an office and we try to hammer out a peace treaty. Ain't easy, right? But it's easier to go to war. Why? Because that 1/8 of us want to be right. And most people understand that if you actually look, war is actually an anagram. Funny as it may seem. We are right. Funniest crap in the world. When I first figured that out, I was like 9. Actually, probably a little older than 9. was a TV show called Dinosaurs. I don't remember if anybody remember this show, but it was funny as heck. But they had a war. And, of course, they didn't call it war. They called it We Are Right. So, there lies my whole thought on that. Thanks for listening, and I hope one day somebody will actually watch this. Alright.